Karen is back with another experience surrounding the house that her family has lived in for years. Get ready for the strange case of a cursed doll. My name is Edwin. Here's a true scary story.
So my grandparents' house was built in the 70s. It's located in Tijuana, Mexico, about 10 minutes from the border. And a lot of things have been happening at this house ever since they built it. My grandparents and my uncles and aunts all contributed to building the house. They built it from the ground up, and they discovered a lot of things. They discovered some bones believed to be human bones. And ever since then, back in the 70s, things started happening. My mom used to be a manager at a very well-known store in Tijuana. She was young when she started working. She started working there like at 16 and worked her way up. For her 18th birthday, her co-workers had like a little party for her at the cafeteria, like at their job. And you know, my mom had her close friends there. Some of her best friends now were from there. And you know, everybody gave her little gifts like a perfume, a necklace, you know, just regular gifts that you give an 18-year-old. One of her co-workers gifted her this doll. It was a rag doll. Later, recently, I asked my mom about it because I thought it was really weird if you think about it. Why is somebody gonna give somebody a rag doll for their 18th birthday? I don't know, that's just strange. And so I asked my mom, like, who was this coworker? Like, what friend was this? And my mom was like, oh, you know, like, I don't even know her name. She's like, she wasn't really my friend. And then she said everywhere she went, she was always wearing all black. And I was like, and you took this doll from her? My mom was like, yeah, well, you know, I thought it was a nice gift, so I took it. Anyway, so at my grandparents' house, that's where my mom lived until she got married at 25. She came home with a doll, and you know, everybody's like, oh, you know, that's kind of creepy. Like, she looks kind of weird, but whatever. And my grandma was like, oh, just sit her up on top of that couch. So my mom did, and she just sat her like on top of the couch in the corner of the couch. Back then, I'm pretty sure they had multiple couches, so it was just stuffed away in a corner. And my mom said it was a pretty big doll. It would take up like the whole corner. And then my uncles, who were younger, and my youngest aunt would always complain about the doll. They said that every time they came in through the door, they felt the doll looking at them. And my grandma, we used to say, oh, you guys are just, you know, being kids. Like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. You know, it's not going to do anything to you. It's fine. And then my grandma started feeling it. So then my grandma was like, oh, you know, that doll is like kind of always following me. Mom says that if you were sitting in the kitchen, it looked like she was looking at you in the kitchen. If you were sitting next to her, it looked like she was looking at you next to her. If you were walking in through the door, it was following you with her eyes. Reminder, it's just a doll. Like, the eyes don't move. They're like set. But my mom said that everybody kind of started getting freaked out by it. And my grandma one day was like, you know what? I've had it. Like, I don't want to look at her anymore because she's really creepy. And so my grandma, what she did is she took out the cotton, because, you know, she was very resourceful. And she took out the cotton and made a new pillow, like a regular, like a pillow, like a sleeping pillow that goes on the bed. And she made that pillow and just kept it forever, right? And it was in one of the guest bedrooms, so not a lot of people used it. She threw away the rest of the doll, like the outside of the doll and the hair, everything. She threw it away, and she just kept the insides. Mind you, this was years ago, right? Then one of my cousins is born 20 years later. Long time. Reminder, that pillow was just kept in the guest room. So it was just like a throw pillow, like a decoration pillow. When my aunt gives birth to my cousin, she's really little, less than a month old. They go stay with my grandma because her husband was always working and she needed more help with the baby. because this was her second baby. This is one of my cousins. And they're just laying on the bed. My cousin was gonna go down for a nap, less than a month old. And my family tends to wrap babies. So they do like the wrapping so that babies don't move their hands or their feet. They're just wrapped so they can go to sleep. And so that's how she was. She was wrapped and she had her little hat on, and it was, she was born in March. So it must have been like April, springtime. So my aunt goes up and, she's like, we're going to take a nap. I'm going to feed her and I'm going to put her down for a nap. My grandma's like, okay, she's downstairs cooking. My aunt is upstairs with my niece. And then all of a sudden they're laying on the bed, and all of a sudden my niece starts kind of almost choking, just crying and choking. And my aunt says that she was turning red and purple, like it looked like she was really struggling. So my aunt freaked out and she, yelled for my grandma, and my grandma came running, and they're trying to figure out what's wrong with her. And, they're like, is she hungry? Does she need to be burped? Like, what's wrong? So they try everything. And then my grandma's like, let's take off her clothes. Maybe something's like itching. Maybe something's bothering her. So they did. They unwrapped her. They took off her clothes and they couldn't really find anything. And then my aunt lifted up her head to look on her neck, and there was a thread wrapped around her neck multiple times. And there was a needle poking right here in the front. Needles are very thin and very skinny, obviously, and little. It wasn't all the way in, but it was poking her like in between her collarbone. They were freaking out because, first of all, this baby doesn't roll, so there's no way she could have rolled into the thread and wrapped it around her neck. My aunt had just given her a bath, so if that thread would have been there, she would have seen that. That thread just came out of nowhere. And they had only, my aunt had already fed her, and now they were going down for a nap when it happened that she started going like, just, crazy, because she obviously the needle was poking her and the thread was choking her. Later, we find out the pillow she was laying on was that pillow that my grandma made into, the doll that she made into a pillow. That's the pillow that they were laying on when that happened. Which is just crazy because maybe they were right about the doll being creepy, but the inside still had something because that happened to my cousin. My cousin is now 23, 24, so she's grown and she's good, but yeah, they were really scared. We went camping not too long ago, and we just love to tell scary stories, and my cousin is the one that's always telling them because she knows all of them. I went to bed early that night when we were camping, but when they were talking about all these things that have happened, my aunt looked over at my mom, and then she was like, do you think it could have been the doll? Like, everything that has happened, could it have been the doll the whole time? And that's the first time that they've ever mentioned anything like that. We've known this story, but they've never connected anything to that doll. But that day, they did. And shortly after that is when I asked my mom about that friend. And I was like, who gave you this doll and why did you accept it? So when she told me that it was somebody that she didn't know and that she was very secluded and just always wearing black, I automatically thought that was really weird. Because why would you give someone you don't know a doll? My mom says, it was pretty big, like a meter big. Like, she had really long legs. She had really long, I think she said she had 2 ponytails or 2 braids. And she said that the hair was black, really long. And she said that the doll was smiling, like a big smile, no teeth, just a smile. And her eyes were kind of ovally, like not circles, but they were long ovals and are really big. Just the eye was just really big, like extremely big for her face. And it was wearing a little dress. Nobody really said anything about the doll until that happened with my cousin, and then they threw away the pillow. My grandma said, we're gonna burn it and throw it away. So maybe it was an evil doll.
Do you have a true scary story you want to share with us? Visit truescarystory.com or find us on social media to get in touch. To stay up to date with the stories, be sure to follow this podcast on your favorite app. Until next time, thank you very much for listening.